On episode 4 of You Can't Comp This, we go around the league as per usual. We take a deep dive into the Memphis Grizzlies. It's the Josh Luber Manifest Part 4 Plus. PSA have debuted something very interesting on Instagram. All that and the release of 1-on-1 coming up. After a week away, I am back. The elves have had their way with me. I don't want any more eggnog. Russell, how are you? Great job last week.
I'm very well, and thank you so much, mate. It was a fun episode, actually.
It was I've had a listen, and I tell you what, some premium Steph Curry stuff to talk about. That was that was really good. Getting a bit of interaction with the listeners there on the Facebook.
My wife's requested the NT 1-of-1
for
Christmas present.
For Christmas present. Oh wow! But yeah, no, that was awesome. I definitely think we need to do something like that again. Get people showing us some sweet cards.
I thought it was actually really good, and it really does force you to have a look at a bit more around it. And I think also too, I said this already, I just hadn't given that guy enough respect. It's as simple as that.
He's an unsung legend, I guess. He's going to be in years to come like what LeBron, Jordan, Kobe were to a generation. And I think
that's it.
In this age, there's overlap, and I think LeBron and Steph are kind of overlapping. There was an article the other day where the question was posed: is Steph sort of usurping LeBron as the hero of this generation? I just think it's an overlap thing. I don't think it's it takes away from LeBron. I just think Steph's the new for this chunk of time.
Interesting.
But yeah. I mean, the Lakers' performance is probably what's tainting LeBron more at the moment, and I'm not going to go into that anymore. They're quite disappointing, to say the least.
Look, the Lakers they're really struggling now.
Yes.
Anthony Davis has got a strained MCL.
MCL, yeah, out 4 to 6 weeks by the looks of it. But hey, let's talk about the more successful franchises in the NBA, and let's start by sort of patting our own backs, maybe. Anyone that sort of got on board with our Cavs watch. We've been watching Darius Garland, and I think anyone that's jumped on board would be happy. What would you think?
Yeah, look, I think we were frothing over Cleveland the last few weeks, and they've just kept playing better and better. You were saying offline they're now third in the East, and
they are.
I don't follow the standings that closely, so to be honest, that's a really fun story, for all the Cavs fans out there.
Well, given that I'm pretty sure I had the Cavaliers as I think I predicted them in the bottom 3 in the East.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even had them as the play-in team.
They definitely weren't in the playoff race. That's but yeah, sitting third in the East. I mean, it's early days. We're a third of the way through the season, but definitely an exciting group to watch. But yeah, Darius Garland, very good investment. Well, was a very good investment.
14% this month. In the last 2 weeks, he's up 15.5%. So
still climbing.
And
that's I mean, he's up over the last 3 months. Is obviously up 40%, but he's still going from strength to strength.
I think last episode I was talking about a couple of guys who had that sort of pump and dump effect. Yeah, and Garland hasn't had that yet. He's still trickling upwards, which, to be honest, I thought maybe there was going to be a little bit of that sort of pump and dump happening here already, but I think his play's been so strong, the team is performing so well.
Well, it's pretty hard to dump if he's still really performing.
Yeah.
I've sort of been looking at one, and I think this is probably a bit of a sneaky sleeper at the moment with the last sale of a Silver Prism being 61. Is it now? How do you pronounce this? I've heard commentators say Lowry. I've heard other people say Laurie.
I say Laurie, but
Laurie Markkinen. They could just have 2 first names called Lowry and Laurie. But Markkinen, I tell you what a resurgence. He's really coming. Like he sort of went to Cleveland. They thought he was just going to be a nobody, and it was just going to disappear and off the face of the earth. He's found a new home, and he's really fit in.
I didn't understand that signing at all. To me, it just didn't make sense. I thought maybe they would sort of just see how he went and he'd be like an asset they were going to trade or something like that. And I couldn't have been more wrong on this. And he just looks like a basketball player. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Finally
He
looks like a
doesn't.
basketball player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't perfectly fit into the. In my mind, again, I thought he would play power forward. I didn't think he'd be playing a minute of small forward, but
Yeah.
they just made it work.
Yeah. They've
And
gone very big in Cleveland.
yeah, but with a lot of shooting too. I think that's the key,
I
though,
think
isn't
that's
it? Like,
marketing. Yeah. Like a big that can shoot. That's
yeah,
what a lot of teams are looking for.
yeah, they've just nailed it. So,
Have we gone from the era of the stretch 4 to the stretch 3? But the stretching is different.
I mean, does it matter as long as you've got
Yeah.
spacing? Like,
You
it's all the
space the
same,
floor
isn't it?
right. You've got
Yeah.
the size inside. It's interesting. But he's still people are not keen on marketing.
So just to be clear about what we said before, his last sale of his PSA 10 silver rookie was 61 USD. I don't understand that at all.
That's
Like,
I'm like,
to me,
yeah,
that screams buy.
that's a definite, that just screams buy in my eyes. Like,
I feel like
wow.
that's affordable. And let's just say worst case scenario, it never goes up, ever, which I don't think is going to be the case. I mean, I could cope with that.
I'm pretty sure it'll cost you more than $61 to send a silver prism off to get graded by PSA. So yeah,
That is a real consideration, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, well, if I had one and I wanted to send it off, it'd cost me more than $61, and there's a high likelihood that it wouldn't come back a 10.
Look,
So
I'm sure people lose money sending cards to get graded, and
yeah,
this has to be an example of that.
yeah, it's
'Cause I'm sure we could find some data on this, but Raws would have been more than 61.
oh, for sure. There was a lot of hype on marketing.
Yeah.
Early days. So
And Bulls
the
always seem to
Cavs
sell.
are going from strength to strength now. Look, let's
Let's queue on up. Let's go.
let's go to the Western Conference.
Sure.
Now, if I were to tell you before looking at player stats that the Memphis Grizzlies had gone on a 10-1 game record,
Yeah.
who would you attribute their success to?
Morant.
They have gone 10-1 without Ja Morant.
Yeah. It's
That's-
wild, isn't it?
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if Morant isn't on the court, somebody else has got to step up. And I think this is where we're definitely in value town, because we've got what? Who do we want to really? It's Triple J, isn't it?
Definitely Triple J, but I think Desmond Bain's the other guy who has been playing a lot better than what I was expecting him to play. And maybe also that too is a little bit of opportunity. Like, I didn't think the ball was going to be in his hands as much as it has been. So with Morant being out, that's definitely helped, but he's been exceptional. He's been really good.
Desmond Bain, you were referring to pump and dump.
Yep.
Now, looking at his Silver Prism sales, we've only got the raw sales because there's not, obviously, with a recent, it's only recent. The
No one's paying 150 to get this graded.
And raw peak was around the $50 mark.
Yep.
Recently, it's dropped from like 37 to 24 to the last sale, $15.50.
Yep.
Now, if you can pick up a raw Desmond Bain for 15 US, my advice would be, if the centering's good, get it.
Yep.
Get it. It's good, Nick. Get it. That is value.
Up to 25 USD. I don't think that's a bad spend, because at that price, even up to 25 USD, I still think that could definitely go down, of course, but at the same time, there's a lot of room to move on that too. And I suspect also what's going to happen with their rotation, his really strong play is probably going to push some of the other guys out. Like DeAnthony Melton, I could see his minutes go down. Kyle Anderson, I wouldn't be surprised if he was sort of pushed out of the rotation a little bit. And then probably the big one is Dylan Brooks. I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, if someone is going to be, pushed out of the rotation and younger guys can be coming in, that's where I could see like Bain, long-term sort of picking up minutes more permanently in the rotation.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I don't know, the Grizzlies they're a surprise packet. I thought without Ja, they were going to struggle.
Yeah.
They were really, really, really going to struggle. Now, where are we? Jaren Jackson Jr.
Just to go back to Bain for 2 seconds, if that's okay.
Yep.
And I think now we're talking about purchasing him, like realistically, yes, of course you can pump and dump in the next couple of weeks or the next 3 months or whatever, but I think the play with this guy is like a 3-year, because I think the play would be you're buying him for, say, 15 to 20 USD, waiting for PSA cheap subs to open back up and sending them in for that.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
essentially,
very
that's
good. That's
pretty good
sound
pay.
advice. Well, I think what we've seen of his game so far is this isn't the breakout year. This is just showing what he's capable of. I think there's actually going to be a breakout afterwards. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Because in
so
some
this is
ways,
the investment time.
interesting. So I actually thought in some ways this was his breakout.
Look, I don't know. I feel I've just got an inkling that
Sure.
that he's sort of coming into his own. He's getting given the opportunities, but I think this guy's got another gear.
Okay.
And he's shown recently that he can step up.
Yep.
So as he matures more, maybe we'll just see a higher ceiling. But who knows? I mean, this is and I'll go now across to Jaren Jackson.
Yeah, hit me.
There's a lot of hype early, and it faded very quickly.
His hype was huge, and
Yep.
his. I remember when those breaks were releasing, like Memphis was,
Yep.
it was really quite expensive, sort of to the point that you couldn't price it less than what we're pricing it as. But then guys were kind of a bit not really too sure about buying into it for that price. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very interesting because looking at recent sales of his Silver Prism in the last 3 months, he's actually down 50%.
I can't explain this, and I don't understand it.
Now, is this a previous pump and dump? But like 450, 460 US is the peak, and that's what back in mid-October. So recently he's been steady, but he's still declining. Silver Prism, what was the last sale? Current price, last sale, 160 US.
Yep.
Now he's starting to play like someone that is worth a lot more than 160 US for their Silver Prism. Not quite the hype he started at, but I don't know. Maybe the market follows if Memphis have a 16-4 record after 20 games, or does he get affected when Jar comes back?
Jar and Triple J can coexist. I don't think there's any reality that those two can't coexist together. And to be honest, I think they were drafted to play together.
Mm-hmm.
But my overall thought for these guys, and look, I don't have the pro version of Card Ladder, so maybe I need to put my hands into my pockets and spend up. But I've got the feeling that his PSA 10 silvers might have gone for a K at one point.
Yeah, this is one of those early days potential, and I think
because the data that we're looking at now is only the last 3 months.
Yep, and it's only recent. It's only recent sales.
Yeah,
but to be declining still in this year,
despite playing better, is perplexing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how quick the market is to react. Is it caution from the market because Jar's going to come back, and not that he doesn't. They can coexist, but I think it's almost like the Boston Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum issue, where one overshadows the other. I don't know. Maybe that's
it, mate.
Maybe that's the problem. Is everybody is so Jar focused?
Yeah, and rightfully so. Let's be honest here.
Yep, it's just like it's those. I don't know. I think it's comparable to the way Jaylen Brown is kind of overshadowed by Tatum.
Yep,
and it's sort of reflective in the market too.
100%. I couldn't agree more. You could definitely see people selling at a Triple J buy into Jar, and to be honest, that's probably the right move. But also at some point to, 160, what if it slides down more? 120, 110? That's, to me, that's just a home run. The guy's got pedigree. He's got the size. He's got the skill set to succeed in the NBA. I think, to me, the biggest hang-up for this guy is his injury history and, how healthy is he going to be? And he's looking really good this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know.
So this is a complete segue, but this is something that was on my mind today, is that in the last couple of years, the draft class overall rating was that the LaMelo U was not as strong as the previous 2 years.
Mm.
And maybe this is a topic for another day, and we'll hold this for another day, but is it possible that actually the LaMelo year is going to be stronger than the Zion year?
Oh.
Because if Zion completely flames out,
which is look,
it's not impossible, but it's also crazy to me even say this. So someone might record this and play it back to me and say, like, this is your worst take ever. But if that does play out in that situation, then you've got Ant-Man who's playing, you could argue, just as well as Ja Morant.
Yep.
Then you've got LaMelo, who's just a hobby darling.
Yeah.
And then worst case scenario, you've got Wiseman, who's kind of like a smoky sitting in the background. He's actually the breaks that we're currently going into the class. We're almost at the very end of this release, but actually, is this a much better draft class than what we've been thinking about?
It's possible, and this is the thing. Like people, there's a lot of talk about, like you go back years, like redraft the 1996 draft class. Does Kobe go like number 13?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I see what you're saying.
like players, and look, I think there is a change in the way that players develop these days, and this crosses over with multiple topics we've covered. But at what point, like if they've come straight from high school, done all of their college, like when do they peak? And the answer to that is it varies.
Yeah.
There are some players that are obviously ready-made for the league and just have that killer instinct, ready to just step up and take over a game.
Yeah.
But some players take a bit of time to adjust. Some players played in Europe. We'll use Markkinen as the example. Yeah, like Luca. He came through the Europe system and it didn't really take him long to adjust.
No,
but you find other players that are finding their feet years in. And then you got ones that never find their feet. But you're finding that there are more players that are starting to break out, I guess, after 3 or 4 seasons now, rather than just in their first, second, third season.
I think I've completely segued our conversation and maybe even ruined it. So if you're happy, I think we do that topic another day and we actually do a bit more research into it, because
I agree. There's a lot to take apart there.
And I'm not putting my conspiracy hat on here either. I actually am beginning to believe that there's a lot more value in this draft class that, to be honest, was written off.
Yeah.
And maybe what we've been thinking about.
It could be very interesting. That's definitely, that could be a whole episode unto itself. Ja Morant. So let's see how we haven't reviewed Ja. That's an interesting one, given that he's the reason that the Grizzlies are on a tear.
Yeah. So in the last 3 months, he's down 16%.
Yeah, because last time we checked in, he wasn't down when he first got injured.
Yeah. The last 1 month, he's down 25%. The last 2 weeks, he's down 12%.
Ooh.
That's on his silver PSA 10.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not surprised by that. Like,
he's out. We want to know how long he's out for.
It's a pretty consistent trend that, people get injured and then their card prices slide. I don't think this is anything to.
It's definitely not it's not
he's
plummeting.
Back, isn't he?
Is he back?
Yeah, pretty sure he is.
Okay. That's the thing. There's been a few. Remember, I was abducted by elves and force-fed eggnog.
Yeah. So he played on the 20th, which is essentially is today.
Today.
Yeah. He played 28 minutes, 6 of 12
so
from the field. Yeah.
They're easing him back.
2 steals, 1 block, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Like, that's perfect.
Okay. And look at that. Bane's still performing quite well. Jaren Jackson doing well. So, yeah.
All right. Buy, hold, sell. Ja Morant, PSA 10 silver. Last sale, 1,300 USD.
Last sale was what?
1,300 USD. You buying, holding, selling?
On the silver.
Yep.
A Ja Morant. Okay. Yeah. It's probably not a snap buy, but it's not a sell. I'll hold. If I've got it, I'll hold it.
Yeah.
I'd be tempted to buy that. We know which direction this arrow is headed, as long as he stays healthy.
Yep. I think if you PC Ja, you're not going to sell it now.
No.
He's just moving into juicy territory.
If he gets if he takes a little bit longer with this injury and it dips, what's your investment point? If it drops below a K, do you buy it? Just snap buy.
Depends on his injury, but
yeah,
if there's some ridiculous reason that he goes down, I can't see why not. Because, and again, I think we need to have this conversation another day. But are we moving towards the point when it's Luka, Ja, and LaMelo Ball that are in that sort of
top
ultra
tier
modern sort of pantheon in terms of hobby collecting?
What about Ant-Man?
I think he's knocking on the door, but
he's about to bust through the door, I think.
The way
depends how Minnesota go. I actually think it's dependent on Minnesota's performance this year.
And they've been playing great for Minnesota standards.
Yeah, I was going to say they're not cellar dwellers at the moment. They're if the playoffs were to start today, Minnesota would get swept by the Phoenix Suns in the first round.
Yeah.
Or the Golden State Warriors. I can't remember who's on top. Pretty sure it's the Suns. Yes, they would get swept by the Suns. The Lakers would get swept by the Warriors. Anyway.
All right. I think we're done there. What do you reckon?
I think looking at the Grizz, I think there's definitely some interesting stuff there. 160 USD for Jaren Jackson Jr. If you get some Christmas money, got some Christmas money from your grandparents, and you don't want to buy some new underwear, maybe get on a Triple J PSA 10.
Yeah.
Or a Lowry Marketing, depending how much you got for Christmas.
Yeah, that's actually two really good purchase recommendations at two different price points.
Yeah. And look, gonna sneak what Bane's also there. Like all of these cards are.
You're not going to lose much sleep buying those three guys.
Definitely. Speaking of buying cards, have we got any new releases?
It released a week and a half ago. Panini's 1-1. It's a 2 cards per box. They're not slabbed cards, but they're encased. So essentially, they come in 1-touches.
Okay.
Every card that comes out of it is serial numbered,
Mm-hmm.
and it has some really nice chase sets in there. So the big one for me, I'm going to say this straight away, is the downtown.
Yep.
And I'm actually watching a break as we're talking about this, and an Anthony Edwards downtown has just come out.
Oh,
That is amazing.
Delicious. The Ant-Man himself.
The other chase from this set actually has turned out to be the Timeless Moment. So I'm not too sure, to be honest, when they were building that setup. Of course, they wanted it to be popular, but I think the hobby momentum behind the Timeless Moments has really, really pushed this product.
Yeah.
And I think in addition to the downtown, which, to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed when that was taken out of Cornerstones and put into 1-1, because the price of Cornerstones, in my mind, was, well, for a period of time, was actually obtainable.
Yeah.
You could get one for, 500 to 800. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Whereas 1-1 is typically always around that $1,000 mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, box prices have changed over the years. And this is just a thought that come to mind. And we were talking about this off air.
Yeah.
I was talking about black gold as a product.
Yeah.
And I remember that had 2 packs in it, right? Is this just the modern version where they're just like, to trim the fat, don't worry about the crud. We get 1-1. It's black gold, 1 card and 1 card. Not 1 pack, 1 pack, 1 card, 1 card.
Maybe.
That new sort of premium cut the fat product.
My recollection of the black gold was they kind of had those translucent type cards, didn't
they? Yeah, that little hollow. They were. What was the size? The sizing was thicker.
It's not really like that in 1-1. So the other thing that comes out of 1-1 too is the RPAs, and they have a very distinct card type. Like if you see an RPA on eBay, even if you have no idea what you're looking at, if you're familiar with 1-1, you'll be like, okay, great, that's a 1-1. The borders are very distinguished, and there's sort of a 2-tone black and white color through it. And the configuration of the patches, again, is like very distinguishable to 1-1. So, look, it really does, at the end of the day, come down to, if you go into a break of it, there's a very significant chance you'll skunk in it, just for the fact that, there's 2 cards per box.
2 cards per box.
Yeah. If you go into a case break, you're looking at, a large amount of money, and then same thing, you can skunk out of that too. So I think, this product is definitely, not for everybody. And at the end of the day,
and I think it's funny to make the comparison, because it's definitely not the cheap product, but is it a cheap version of an NT break?
I think it is, whether they've done that intentionally or not. I think that's aiming for people that would like to get into the higher end stuff that can't afford NT. And they've been very clever about it, because the timeless moments are extremely collectible, and downtowns are just, part of a generation. Yeah. Again, I'm very biased, but that's my opinion of those.
Just got to put the kabooms in there, and they've completed it.
I don't think they need Kaboom.
Kaboom. I was going to say Kabooms are crazy. They're up there at the moment. It's just, I keep seeing them circulating. It's nuts.
Yeah. And I think, so who is this product being aimed at? It's definitely aimed at people who are, happy to have that gamble. Yeah. And also, too, it's aimed at people that whinge when they're in prison breaks and there's all these base cards. You know what I mean? So that's the type of people that is being drawn to it.
Yeah.
So AMT breaks, they're a breaker that are on eBay. And the way that they do their breaks, they're pretty much all case breaks, and they're all pick your player. So I really enjoy going in their breaks, because you can buy into some product that you wouldn't normally get your hands on, And then because you're just buying a player, you're not paying for that full team. That really brings the price down.
Oh wow!
So
Especially if you've got not a quirky PC, I guess.
it's really good if you PC veterans, particularly veterans. So for me, buying into Darren Fox recently, this is a little bit of a segue, but I bought into a Mosaic case break.
Yeah.
It was like 20 US one break and 30 US another break. So that's a really cheap way to get into a case.
Wow, and you get all of the Foxes.
Yeah, they send out base cards for no extra charge. Nudge, nudge.
I like it. I like it.
Sorry, that was
I like
uncalled.
the idea of
We don't need to ridicule local breakers, do we?
That's it. They ridicule themselves enough.
It's unprofessional.
The one-on-one's an interesting set. I think you're right. It's those people that want to take the plunge into the top end,
yeah,
but aren't sort of ready for buying a case of national treasures. But
yeah, and the other thing I'd probably add to this too is get on eBay, particularly if you collect veterans, because the base cards, when I say base, they're all still serial numbered. They're absolutely beautiful cards in your hand, and you can get them for $20 US to even $40 for like a shorter printed card. I picked up a couple of Foxes this week actually on eBay because they are
just because
spectacular in hand. Yeah, they're just beautiful cards. Yeah. Anything you wanted to add to 1-on-1?
No. I think it's an interesting product. Definitely out of my price range at the moment.
Yep.
Like 2 cards in a pack it's high stakes poker.
Exactly.
Really. You're sort of taking a punt.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that, even though, man, like if you can't afford to, or it's not
it's
that's
literally
fine.
A dice. It's like rolling 2 dice.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes I just prefer a few more dice to roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely,
totally
definitely going to be one of the. It's not going to be a product that everybody wants, but it definitely delivers. It definitely delivers.
Yeah.
What have we got? What else around the league?
I think that's it. I think we can move on to the Manifesto.
The Manifesto. We're up to part 4, aren't we?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Part 4 of the Josh Luber Manifesto.
Risk factors, warning signs, and how to think about the future is his subheading for this section.
Yeah, so this is. I read it the other week, and now I'm trying to
refresh
just quickly. But
so the first thing he talks about
supply and demand, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He also speaks about technology.
Oh, technology. That was the first bit. Yeah.
What do you think he's aiming at when he talks about technology?
I think he's talking about himself to an extent, but I don't know. I just think, is he talking about NFTs? Is he, you know what I mean? Like, is he talking about platforms like eBay or StockX is the example he uses?
Yeah.
Does he, like, it's interesting because this is sort of, as much as he didn't like it in the beginning, a manifesto. So there's all of his thoughts coming out, and it's his thoughts on the hobby. And I guess evolution is a natural thing. I mean, collecting cards these days is very different to when I was at high school buying cards in the 90s. It's the same product, and breaking is technology, is a form of technology. You know what I mean? Like, going onto YouTube and watching somebody open cards is not something I would ever have imagined when I was collecting cards, like pre-2000. It's interesting. We've gone from a paper Beckett to online pricing at your fingertips. Like, things evolve, and I guess he's sort of just sharing how things can change over time.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the technological side of it?
Well, one of the first things he talks about is Genamint, and then he goes on to talk about StockX.
Yeah.
And in some ways, he's congratulating himself, and I think he's earned that right. I think that's totally fine.
He has, but did you notice the little snippet he put from his YouTube video yet?
Yeah.
The cards are long dead.
But I think Genamint is a really good one to talk about because how they're going to use that to integrate into PSA.
Yep.
And I really like that because in the event that people are, cracking cards and then resubbing them again, my very basic understanding of some of the Genomint technology is to basically fingerprint each card.
Oh, wow.
So then they formed this database of cards that have been subbed.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment, with so many different grading companies that are popping up, and then we've got card porn essentially acting as a watchdog and also public executioner.
Yeah, I was going to say, watchdogs are an interesting. There's a lot of people that like to put this dog down, and I'm not one of them. I've seen it's very interesting the way they're handling it. But yeah.
So let's talk about HDA, right? So the HDA criticism from card porn was essentially that they don't really know what they're doing, and all of their conversations were brought out into a very public forum, which I don't particularly think that card porn should have done that. In a sense that those conversations should be private, and they were using the controversy as clickbait.
Yep. A lot of this stuff hinges on like slander and like it's muddy water that we're entering with this war. But I just don't think it doesn't seem like the right forum for it.
Definitely not. But I think the core of the criticism is that they couldn't genuinely authenticate, cards.
Yeah.
Whereas Genomint combining with PSA's experience and background knowledge and all of the amazing sort of wealth of knowledge. Like, can you imagine just the built-up knowledge that company would have over the years of grading, a million cards or however many millions of cards? Yeah. So I think that combination together is really powerful, and I think that's where you combine high-level technicians with advanced technology, and that's where you really see the gains being put in. And I think in terms of myself, because when I purchase cards, even when I purchase graded cards, I don't have any idea what's forged and what's not forged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could never tell. So if I do buy an authenticated card, I really am relying on that person to make sure it is authenticated properly. So I think that's my initial, pragmatic or, practical thought that I get from the Genomint conversation.
Yeah. And look, I think technology is going to go hand in hand. That kind of technology is going to go hand in hand in the future. We've already talked about how prominent grading is or how important grading is to this hobby becoming more than a hobby and being the investment side anyway. And you're trading tangible assets.
How much of the slowdown is related to PSA being shut down?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, have we realized now how essential that grading is to our hobby?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, how do you distinguish one card from another? The condition of it.
Yeah.
And it's all well and good to cast your eye over a card and go, that looks really good. And it's another thing to go, that's a PSA 10, that's a PSA 9. Because I'm sorry, but Joe Blow down the road is going to look at both of those and not be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, that's a really good point, isn't it?
Yeah. And we compare, pricing is based on comparing the different quality. I mean, you go to something that's not cards, you go to buy a diamond. Yep. The clarity, the color, the cut, all of these things are really important to the value of the diamond.
Yeah, and the price that you'll pay for that appropriately graded diamond. And I think that's where it comes back to cards too. I'm happy to pay for a PSA 8, actually. And sometimes I'm very happy to pay for it because it just screams like a great, buy for me. And I'm happy to pay for that at that price.
Because there's a price point for it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the same as raw. You kind of need to have a good idea of what is the relative raw condition of that card so that not that you are going to get every card graded, but you don't want to overpay for something that is in bad condition.
Well, Desmond Bain, we'll go back to that. That raw $16.50 silver.
Yeah.
Did that have a chip in the corner? Did it?
Yeah.
Was it off center? Was it? It's interesting.
Yeah. And we spoke about this on Card School, and that was one thing that I noticed when I was buying Halliburtons like quite aggressively earlier this year. Yep. You could tell when a silver prism was in good condition because the price of it was literally double.
Yeah.
Like that was something that was like very much in the forefront of my mind this year because there was two different price points. There was one that was, they were east-west.
The going rate for an off-center silver that was just there.
And there was so many off-centered prisms this year. That was like the real sort of trend. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you find one that's got good centering and all of a sudden the price goes through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the manifesto. So what he goes on to talk about later on is the supply and the demand paradox.
Yep.
And you also touched on NFTs just a little while back. And I wonder how they're going to manage that, because I definitely think that's going to take some people's money out of physical cards being put into digital.
Yeah.
So if they're going to be releasing all these digital cards, at one point, is there going to be sort of a winner, like the VHS versus beta thing, when people decide,
Ooh, that's
I'm
an
actually going to
interesting
go
one.
down this pathway? Because I don't think both can boom. I think both could possibly exist in the same space, but at some point, there's going to be a winner, right?
Yeah, well, it depends. He goes into what was the bit? Because he actually had a little bit of a breakdown, like broke down the supply demand issue, and then he obviously went into how prisms and parallels were distributed. But after that, it was the different scenarios with demand over supply,
Yeah.
demand, and then what the actual demand was. Now, if you're separating NFTs and physical cards, aren't you in some way going back to the releasing more products part of that model?
Exactly.
And you just got to be careful with how many products you release.
So whether they're releasing a digital or a physical card, they're still releasing more product.
So if you release, say you've got 100 products or so we say 50 different releases in a year.
Yeah.
10 of those are in NFT form, 30 of those are in physical card form,
Yeah,
and
sure.
10 of them are overlapping. Is that like, do you know what I mean? You divvy it up.
So do you mean that you buy a physical box of cards and in that you've got NFTs?
Yeah.
I think they were doing that a little while back with NT, weren't they? But then they've gone away from that, haven't they?
They might have been experimenting with it. I still think it's a very good experiment a lot of people are unsure about NFTs.
Definitely.
So what's the best way to get people to dip their toes?
Give them away in NT boxes.
Give them an NT. Give them a product that gives them a taste.
Yeah.
And I know that in the gaming world, it's not the same, but when you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, you get a virtual pack of Pokemon cards. It's the same principle. There's a lot of people out there that only play the card game but never played the online version. Give them a free taste.
Yeah.
And it gets them one to the other. Like with gaming, it's a little bit different. You're just giving them a free taste. You say, oh, you can play this online as well as in person, but the concept's very similar.
Yeah. I mean, the way I perceive that is that you get the physical cards and you collect them, you put them away.
Yep.
And then you get the digital token, which lets you play with that pack online.
Okay.
That's the way I perceive it. And can I be honest with you, that's my biggest complaint about basketball cards is that, okay, so once you get them, you collect them, but you can't actually do anything with them.
Yep.
Whereas Pokemon, I really like that you actually can play the games.
Well, all right. We'll go. I'm going to derail the manifesto.
We're completely segueing. But
I'm segueing out of the manifesto. This would be
segue
quick.
from a segue.
In the 90s, when I got out of basketball cards, or my biggest sellout, I sold my Scottie Pippen collection at the time.
Yep. You could rebuy it now, mate. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll still only cost me $500. It'd be enormous. So effectively, my cards were worth $1,000, and I got offered $500 for them.
Sure,
which is pretty. Anyway,
yeah.
The card store I went to had I could trade store credit, so it was either I could have $350 cash, or it was like $550 in store credit. Yeah,
seems pretty reasonable.
Like a great deal.
Yeah.
For my at the time $1,000 worth of cards. Which is fine. I understand if you go to a store, you get a lot less than the value of the cards.
Yeah.
So I went with my cards and I'm like, okay, well, I just want cash because I'm selling out of basketball cards. Why would I want to buy more basketball cards?
Yeah.
And then I saw a game called Magic the Gathering. So I ended up getting, I think I got $200 cash anyway. And then it was like 200 cash and 250 store credit. I did a deal to split it. And with that store credit, I bought a bucket load of Star Wars and Magic the Gathering cards. And that's where that habit started. 20 years later, I stopped playing Magic the Gathering. And it was...
Are you still collecting Magic?
I used to. I sold I actually sold the bulk of my collection to go and see Kobe play his last game. So
cool.
It was definitely worth it. So it was funny how selling my basketball cards led to playing a game, and that game effectively financed my basketball trip. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, like it was. I said I'm sick of basketball cards. All I do is collect them. I don't do anything with them. This
Yep.
is a game. I can play it.
Yep.
So I definitely understand that rationale.
Yeah.
It's and people have find different ways to display their cards, but that's as creative as we get, I think, as collectors.
Back to the manifesto. I'm at the
Yes.
subheading that says typical return of investment is less than the cost of wax. And
Yes.
I would say this is a huge criticism that, goes around. And so I sit on both sides of the fence. Like I run breaks, but I also go into breaks too. So I suppose as a breaker, I'm always trying to think of different ways to improve the value of a break or make sure that everybody gets something.
Yeah.
And then myself, as I'm going into breaks, you do really have to steel yourself to say that it's possible that I'm going to spend $50 or whatever, and then you come away with nothing. Like there is that real, and I think that's what comes down to, because, another way of saying that you're doing a break is that you are splitting up a box. So essentially you're buying part of a box. You're just not losing the entire box value. You're just losing a portion of it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. I mean, a lot of his parallels relate to sneakers, but don't always correlate. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't always translate. Because you're never going to buy a box, a shoe box, and it could be empty. Do you know what I mean? Like in this hobby, things are very different.
Yeah.
There's different factors in collecting sneakers and basketball cards, I guess, and that's what he's also saying, that you can't do everything the same, but you can apply certain principles.
Yeah.
The return on investment's one I don't think we can ever defeat. Like if the return on investment was always guaranteed to be better,
we'd all be millionaires.
Correct.
Yep.
How does that work?
Yep.
Like, well, there'd be no product available because the price of product would be unattainable.
Yeah.
If you were guaranteed to make money when you purchased a box of cards, that's not how economics works.
So I suppose maybe the question is, like, why do we keep coming back? You would hope that we enjoy the process of opening the packets, or
you went into the three factors. That's sort of like the main factors. Why do we do it? If we know we're not going to get value, why do we do it? Because we think we'll hit the lottery.
Yeah.
Because we get a serotonin rush. Is it serotonin?
Yep.
We get a hit. We feel good when we gamble like that. It's the same as an addicted gambler, literally.
Yeah.
Except we don't need to show ID in order to buy a pack of basketball cards.
Yeah.
This casino is for all ages, if you can afford it. But yeah, like it's a punt every time you buy product.
So if you scroll down to Panini Prism basketball number of parallels, the nice little graph they've got there.
This is hilarious.
If you were in charge, where would you put the number of parallels between 3 and 44?
What year would I take? I think 24 is pushing it. I think 20 is a good number. I don't know. I've completed one rainbow in my time, and that was only like 8 or 9. It was like 9 or 10 cards.
Yeah.
I was totally certified, like 17, 18.
Because not many people can say that.
Well, I pulled a 101, and then because it was Jordan Clarkson at the time.
So you built it around getting the 1 of 1.
I got the 1 of 1, and I'm like, well, that's the hardest one to get.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go see if I can get the number to 5. Ended up with that, and I'm like, well, this is going to be easy from here on in. I think the orange was the hardest one to find.
Interesting.
That was like number to 60. Anyway, but it is. It's that chase. But like, at what point is there just too many variations to chase it?
Yeah.
Like with 44 parallels, is someone seriously going to go for that rainbow?
So my thing is, I've actually got no problem with having 44 parallels. Actually, what my complaint or
your beef with Panini is?
Yeah, it's that there's more than one of 1. So
so we scroll down to the select number of parallels and then go below that, because they jump from 23 to 45. That was insane. But what I thought was crazy.
So the graph below that is select 1 of 1s per year.
Yep.
And there's 30 Anthony Edwards 1 of 1s. So if we use
I was looking more at the 4 Anthony Bennett 1 of 1s. So
that's overproduction.
I need to get some of those for a friend of mine anyway.
Yeah. Um, what I was going to say was like, just say there was one of one,
Yep.
and then the rest of the rainbow was relatively easy to get or affordable to get. I'm okay with that. But I think what my current issue is, like, for example, in Prism, there's 3 one of ones. The probability or the price restriction of getting 3 one of ones to me is just like, how many people have actually done a rainbow this year? Has anyone actually done it in the whole world?
There's no way. With multiple one of ones,
Yeah.
You have to be the person that either rips that card, is in the break that gets it, and if somebody gets it and doesn't want to part with it, you're never getting that rainbow.
Yeah.
Ever. So,
There's 3 of
is
those.
that the argument for Select releasing 30 Anthony Edwards one of ones? Don't they become one of 30s?
I think, again, that's also a criticism that's been said.
If there's 30 one of ones,
they're not
that
one of
means
ones.
the number to 5 and the number to 10 variant
Yeah.
is more rare. Even the number to 25.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I actually like all the different variants. I think that's really cool. But yeah, probably that's my overall sort of criticism, that it's impossible to do something. So that's just creating frustration, not joy for people.
Well, now we all know how much Panini actually tune in and listen to this show, because they make moves. PSA, the big guns must be listening, because
definitely Luber's like our number one fan.
He, as soon as the episode drops, Luber is like, someone's got it right. Someone's starting to think the way we need to be thinking moving forward. What about having a one of one, a number to 2, a number to 3, a number to 4, instead of 30 different one of ones?
I'm fine with that,
because that means if you've got the one of one, it's going to be a bloody hard chase to get the 2 of 2, like one of the 2. It just gets harder and harder, but at least there's multiple.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to go one of one, number to 5, number to 10, number to 20.
Yep.
You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That would be still difficult chases to do.
It'd be really difficult.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. It also creates a secondary market where the one of one's worth a fortune, but the two cards that are 1 of 2 and 2 of 2, if someone is PCing and gets it, you've got a chance of getting the other one, and they're still going to be worth it a truckload of money.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine the jersey number if I don't know, a player's wearing number 31, getting the 31 of 31 if they go that deep.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. I don't know. You could play with the numbering system. That's probably, rather than being lots of different one of ones, play with the numbering.
Yep.
I don't know. Change your distribution. And I think that's something he alludes to with the way he talks about innovating.
I think they do that in some sets already, don't they? Because
well, I know there's some Kobe inserts that were numbered to 24.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's a Luka Doncic that's to 77.
Yeah. I saw a fake Jordan that was numbered 23 of 23.
Oof, that would have been an eBay one of one for sure.
For sure.
Hey,
yeah, the guy needs to work on his DPI on his printer. But anyway.
Do you think that with the increase of 14 one of ones to the next year to 30, that is also representative of the higher print runs?
Possible.
So,
like we're talking retail, we're talking like all the different.
Well, so let's just say you get a one of one every 3 or 4 cases. So that ratio is still the same, but what's changed from 2019 to 2020 is literally twice as much product is being made available.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, COVID happened and more collectors and more Panini are like, we need to get more stuff out into the market. Let's overprint it. But I guess, yeah.
Like, if you use Prism Retail as an example and Prism Blasters, like, I don't know for a fact, but I think I know that they just absolutely printed the SHIP out of that. Like, they literally just printed so much of it. It's still readily available, even, nearly 12 months on.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So, is that actually possible, that the number of one of ones is proportionate for the amount of product that's available?
And that's, yeah. But is that in line with what, not what Luber's, well, I guess what Luber's preaching is like, yeah, there are ways to innovate and there are not ways to innovate. Don't go about it the wrong way, because if you make too much product, then there's excess, there's not real demand. Yep. I don't know. It's
But the other thing that I think about when I see numbers like that, it makes me think about the case hits, because, in 17, 18, case hits to me were like very rare. they were very difficult to buy.
Yep.
Whereas this year, like the Auroras have come right down,
Yep.
and the level 4 of the Court Kings. Traditionally, they've been $1,000 cards, but some have been selling for even 200-300 this year,
which is different.
Well, it just makes me wonder if there's just a lot more of them out there in circulation. But just to muddle this conversation even further, we opened a box of select blasters. So this is not like the best example in the whole world, but we didn't get a case hit.
Yep. You didn't get the is it the tiger?
We didn't get a tiger, didn't get an elephant, peacock, nothing. No colourful animal.
No colourful animals out of the case.
So I was a little bit not even secretly disappointed. I was quite
very
disappointed.
Publicly disappointed.
Yeah. And then this is not my break, but I've watched 2 full case breakers of 1-on-1.
Yep.
No downtown in 2 cases. So
okay.
Then this sort of, I'm looping back to my previous sort of thought about, increasing print runs. So are they increasing print runs and then keeping the case hits at the same level? So actually then case hits are harder to get.
Which is
from that very small sample size that I just said.
Makes them not case hits, doesn't it?
But on the flip side of that, it seems to me buying case hits at the moment is maybe cheaper than the last couple of years.
Which is weird. That's sort of counter. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe like the case hits. It's interesting what makes a card valuable, and it's a demand thing.
Definitely is demand as part of it.
It's interesting that like towards the end of this section, he goes not just about producing less products. There are other strategies that can meet the increase of demand without increasing the actual supply. Most notably, repacks and buybacks. We've seen a lot of people do their own version of repacks.
Repacks are hot.
It's interesting because there are different types of repacks. But yeah, it's an interesting concept.
So do you think that he's planning to do that in the future?
What, the repack buyback? No, I think it's just showing what some people are doing.
And why repacks are typically done by shops and dealers. There's nothing stopping manufacturers from doing them too.
Yeah, this is true.
If a lawyer had written that, you can't tell me that you wouldn't perceive that as threatening language.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting statement. Is interesting the right word?
Would you buy a Panini repack?
Nope. I tend to stay away from repacks. But that's, we were talking about it with one-on-one before. Is that a product I would buy? Do you know what I mean? Like, It's not something I would buy because I feel like I'm going in a lucky dip at Moomba. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get the ticket at Moomba because I want to, if I get number 77, I'm going to get the big thing up the top.
Yeah.
That's what the repack is. They put a big thing on display and say, these cards are here somewhere. They're amongst all this. Go.
What's the best repack you've ever seen?
I've seen some of the premium ones going around where people have bought some graded stuff and like the encased. Is it encased?
Yeah, encased it was a set and it came with a graded card in it. It was a BGS graded card.
Yep. I liked encased.
Yep. That's not technically a repack though.
It's a style of repack.
Interesting. I wouldn't consider that a repack.
Well, it can't be put into a product graded. So it had to be an open card to be graded, right?
Well, I think before they boxed it up and sealed it for selling, they sent it to BGS like super duper express, and then they sent it back to them, and then they put it into the product.
What's the lowest grade you've seen come out of an encased pack?
I think 8.
Okay, so I don't know. I just think there's a.
If you're trying to get me to put my conspiracy hat on, I'm all aboard.
Oh look, I think that these are encased is an interesting one because the plaques on the BGS grades would look different, didn't they, on encased?
Yeah, a little bit different, but I've seen cards come back with an autograph grade with no autograph on the card.
What?
So it almost makes me think they just like randomly slapped labels onto cards.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is Well, like I don't think they're buying their own cards back, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a repacked product because it has to have been graded before it's packed. It's not out of a sealed pack of cards. You know what I mean? Like if it's a Prism.
No, I understand what you're saying, but they actually seal up the graded card and then put it into the box and then seal that and then put it into a case and then ship it out.
Correct.
Whereas a repack is like You
All
know,
right, so we use the cherry. The
you go
cherry,
onto eBay, you buy singles, and then you put them into a fancy box with a sticker on it.
yeah. So, and that's what I say. Repacks take all types of different shapes and forms. Cherry do repacks.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get. Oh, there were the cherry. They had their little $50 boxes and things that you could buy and have assorted cards in them. You've got those. You've got. I know there are. I've seen breakers offering. Was it Moneyball? Was
Yep.
that one of the ones that?
That's Neb and Shane.
Okay, so is that a repack though?
100% repack.
Yeah. So it's the same concept, just executed differently. Like one kind of repack is I'm going to get volume, and I like repacks as a concept because it takes different forms.
Yeah.
But it's known what the highest end thing you've got. It's very random. It's a lucky dip, right?
100%.
But you've got repacks with 20 cards in them, and then you got repacks with 3 cards in them, or
Yep.
1 card in it.
Or 1 card, yeah.
Yep. Now, I, for one, have done repacks down at the local basketball stadium for
Yeah,
$1
you
each.
spoke about that before, yeah.
Yep. And they were great. Kids absolutely loved them. They would come up, parents would come up with their change after a game. Kids scored a bucket. Here's $5. Give me 5 repacks.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have 1 base card of a star player in it. The rest would be trash. And star meaning star at the time. You know what I mean? Like a kid would open it and go, oh my God, I got a Steph Curry. And it'd be a base hoops Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But they all, for their dollar, you get what you pay for, right?
Right. And that's probably the next thing I was going to say. So the people that argue that repacks are better than going to hobby breaks is that if the person who's doing the repack is doing it properly, so say they put $10,000 worth of cards into the series and they price it for $11,000. So there's
they make a profit. They always make a profit,
right?
Yep.
But at least there's $10,000 of cards going back into those breaks. So for you, what you're saying is your pack was valued at $1 and the kids were definitely getting $1 worth of cards in it, right?
Yep.
That's essentially what you're trying to say. Whereas going back to the previous argument of when you can put your money into a break and get nothing.
Yeah, this is true. And this is where you go back to the return on investment.
Yeah.
So your return on investment on a $1,000 box might be $200.
Yeah.
If you're buying $1,000 repack, the likelihood is you're going to get $900 back.
Wow.
That on the small margin gain kind of thing.
Yeah. Look,
say 500 back. Say you
let's say 500.
You get 50% back.
Yeah.
At a minimum. On average, the worst case, you're going to get 50% of what you invested back.
Yeah. I don't think we should tell our listeners that every repack you buy back into, you're going to at least get 50% because
these are all arbitrary numbers. We've
seen some repacks where you've spent $100, you get $5 back or $2 back. I think there was a lot of jokes going around, but some repacks about that. Yeah.
Oh no, it's like if you've got a Card Ladder premium account, you can go back in time and see how long ago that card was actually worth what you paid for the break.
Yeah.
But yeah, like repacks and buybacks, it's a good way to play with different price points too. Like I do, it's just not a product for me, which doesn't necessarily mean it's not a good product. I don't buy repacks. Like I like to go with the sealed product and see and try my luck.
Yep.
That's how I get my little, what is it, dopamine, serotonin, whatever hit I need when I'm buying a box of cards. The rush that I get. If I buy a box of repacks, I'm like, am I the lucky one that got the one good card in this thing? Not all repacks have got only one good card. So, but do you know what I mean? Like we all, as everybody has a different price point of what product they buy, repacks are just another option. And I think Luber's hit the nail on the head saying that it's ways to increase facilitate the demand without increasing the overall supply. Resupplying the market.
If Panini does repacks, they'll sell and they'll sell really well.
Yep.
If Panini does buybacks, I think that is a home run because we have no one currently doing buybacks at the moment. And I know Al is very passionate about the buybacks he's got with his Larry Johnson stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that's something that if they did bring that back, that would be, really good. The only thing I see with that is just that they have so many moving parts in their systems already in terms of doing their redemptions and stuff like that. Do they now need this huge other set of moving parts where they need to buy back cards.
They might need to buy back so they can do some for like swaps on their redemption.
Get players to sign them, do the authentication process, sell them, post them out. Like, I don't know. To me, they'd almost need like a new corporate center to like take care of it for them,
That's interesting. It's definitely
whether the money was going to be there for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, but it's interesting to see that that's kind of like there are different ways to I don't know, facilitate, I guess, the supply demand nature of this hobby.
That's actually the end of section 4, and we're currently at an hour and 18 minutes on our pod time. So do you want to quickly do our last little dot point that we came up with, and then we can probably tie tonight off? What do you reckon?
Yeah. Look, we've got a bit of an Instagram story which we came across a few days ago. It looks like Instagram have started with a monthly. What would you call it?
Summary.
I'm going to go on to PSA card. Where are we? PSA.
Yeah. So guys, if you are looking for this, go onto Instagram and search for PSA card. It's one word, and you'll find it there. It's
So on, I think it was like the 16th or 17th of December. They started posting and it said PSA by the numbers.
Yep.
So this is the debut of PSA by the numbers, a monthly data dive.
Yep.
So what it is, it actually talks about all the total cards graded and shipped year to date, 2021. What they graded and shipped in November. So which is up 23% in this one, from 594,000 cards in October. Now, what have we got? Top 5 total cards graded and shipped in November by service level, 314,000 value. Then we had 174,000 economy, 170,000 dealer, 35,205 express, and 15,529 by monthly specials. I don't know what.
Huge numbers, isn't it?
But that gives you an idea of what's being graded. There's like 750,000 cards being graded. Now, most cards by category. Basketball smashed it with 221,000. It then goes into, so this is like 9 slides.
Yep.
Most cards, most graded and shipped athlete per sports category. Surprise, surprise, Michael Jordan, number 1. Number 2, second most graded NBA player is Ja Morant.
Yeah, I'm not.
So when we were asking that question before, whether or not the Silver Prism was a buy, maybe it is. So you've got Ja Morant. Number 3 is Zion. So Zion's still being graded.
That to me is the really shocking one, and it makes me wonder if actually cards have been in queues for 12 months, and now they're finally getting around to be graded.
The backlog.
The flip side to the Ja Morant argument, though, is that maybe there's going to be a glut of these cards coming to the market, so maybe his pricing is going to come down a bit.
Maybe there is going to be a bit of a slump in the market.
Yep.
Number 4 is LeBron James, and number 5 is the late great Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, they're the big dogs, aren't they?
So interesting to see. Not surprising. Then it goes into soccer, it goes into other emerging sports, hockey, baseball. We also get into gaming cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Dragon Ball. And then, they've got a stat of the month saying Charizard was the most graded and shipped subject of any genre with 22,500 gradings. Michael Jordan was number 2 with 18,300 Jordans graded. And that's in the month of November. So PSA is certainly busy.
What do you take away from all this?
I'm thinking with their recent acquisition of the likes of Card Ladder, I think PSA have been one of the groups that have been listening to us and thinking that data is going to be important. It's the people do, especially when it comes to investing. The more data you've got to go through with your decision making, the more, I suppose, it keeps your community happy, and it stimulates growth in that sort of investment sector. And if people are getting more cards graded, that's better for PSA. So the more data they give, and if they keep increasing their capacity, they're really doing themselves a favor by giving investors tangible data to work with. I mean, it's not a deep dive by any means. It's breaking a few things down, but you see this as the tip of the iceberg, and this could be, as we go back to Luber, one of the things that he was talking about when he came to innovation. But yeah, interesting. I think interesting is the word I'll use for it, and it's good to see more data coming to the surface. You get a bit more of an idea of what's being graded or how many cards are being graded.
Yeah, I think I'm so basketball centric that it's really good to sort of see other sports and, even wrestling come through. I think that's interesting from a sort of a greater hobby perspective. The thing that really sticks into my mind, though, is that if I ever hit a card that's, say, numbered to 299, I wouldn't be like that impressed by it. I'd be like, whatever, it's only numbered to 299, like who cares? But with this volume of cards that are being graded every month, what really comes into my mind is what percentage of these cards that are being graded that are numbered, I would guesstimate 2% are numbered cards and 98 to 99% of these cards are unnumbered or base cards.
Yeah.
Or unnumbered short prints, right?
Yeah.
So, in terms of that 20-year play thought process, what you're spending your money on, what you're putting your money into is numbered cards where it's at, even if it's numbered to 400, 500. Like in 10 years' time, are we going to care that there's 60,000, base cards that are being graded by PSA? Like, is anyone
620,000 Zion-based prisms?
I mean, use Zion as an example, but if you're looking at these numbers, 221,000 cards have been graded in the last month of basketball cards.
Yep. That's in a month.
In a month. And they're planning to increase their production, 10x.
Yeah. So they're basically saying that they will be able to grade over 5 million cards a month.
Look, hats off to them. If they can do that and they can do it well, they're just the champions of their genre. But what are we going to do with all these cards? Where are they going to end up?
Yeah.
And then, pricing too. What's going to happen to the pricing of these graded cards?
I think people are going to have vaults in their house.
Yeah.
Where literally like a safe. I'll keep gold bars in one side and basketball cards in the other.
When I see this stuff, it just makes me wonder if I should just be collecting numbered cards.
Collecting and getting them graded, you mean? Like grading numbered cards?
Well, when I sit down, I think, I want this card or I want that card.
Yeah.
So should I be saying, okay, I want that card and then I want to get like a numbered variant of it?
Ooh, okay.
Because moving forward,
the numbered variant will become the new silver prism. Is that?
Well, there's going to be... And
there's going to be 17,000 or 1,000 silver prisms and you get a card that's numbered to 99. I'd rather go with the 99, right?
Yeah. Well, how can I say this? So we've just talked about the number of one-on-ones going from 20 to 80 or whatever the numbers were.
Yeah.
And does that represent a 4x increase in the total print run of cards? They never release how many cards are being made. They never release how many are in circulation. But is this the type of data that we can use to correlate to kind of say, well, actually...
Numbered cards are the only ones that will tell you what quantity is.
Maybe.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that card that's numbered to 199, for a fact there's only 199 of them.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were saying you were trying to correlate that to print run.
No, but I'm saying like that's the only way to define that to be able to put a number on it is because because there literally is a number on it.
Yeah.
If you've got the number to 5, it's never going to be population 6.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
No, really good little pickup ad. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. I can't believe I stumbled across it on Instagram on the day that it sort of debuted and I'm like, oh, stats, give me stats.
Yeah.
And then, so they're going to do this monthly, which will be cool.
Great.
Since we're talking about Instagram, probably good chance to plug the socials.
Plug us. Yeah.
Yes, we're You Can't Comp This on Instagram. We're at You Can't Comp This on Twitter. And what are we? It's the You Can't Comp This Facebook group. So if you just search for that, there's a public group you can join.
You Can't Comp This podcast on Facebook.
Yep. And if you would like to
send us a love letter.
Send us a love letter.
Or an electronic Christmas card.
Yeah, exactly. Any e-Christmas cards can come out. Old school, send it via email to youcantcompthis@gmail.com. Nice and easy.
We'll reply too.
We will. We'll be very quick on the reply. We've had a little bit of viewer interaction or listener interaction,
Yep.
It's been good, and it's something I think will definitely be up on the Facebook again soon. Got some more.
Can I close the loop on that? Because there was a couple of guys that I didn't shout out to in last week's episode that I think we should definitely do that. So Gav Andrews sent in a card. Cody Hipper did.
Yep.
Dave Ellis, thank you very much, mate, for showing us your Curry LeBron booklet. That was an absolute cracker.
Oh, Dave said he got a shout out, so
he did get a shout out.
Yeah, I was just too drunk on eggnog, so when I listened to the episode, I didn't.
I thought he said he didn't get a shout out.
Well, I didn't think he did. He said he did. I could be wrong. Anyway,
Anthony Corey, thank you very much for yours. Peter Cameron, Jake Edwards, and Waldo Latore too. So thanks, guys. We really did appreciate it, and I do apologise that I missed a couple of lads. That was poor.
That was awesome. It was great. It was just really good to see everybody contributing, especially with such a special milestone like Steph Curry sort of setting a new record or sort of going into the history books as one of the greatest or the greatest three-point shooter of all time. So that was cool. I think we'll be doing that a little bit more of a let's find a player, let's pick a player and show us what you got kind of thing.
The next one I want to do is DeJounte Murray.
Okay. All right.
I'm really keen to do that. I think
a soft spot for DeJounte. He was one of those players that I was thinking about PCing a few years back. And kind of kicking myself that I didn't get more of his rookie cards.
Yeah,
even raw prisms. But yeah, anyway, I think that's a wrap on this.
Merry Christmas, buddy.
Yes, Merry Christmas. We're not gonna be back until I think it's the New Year. I think it's the following Sunday, so it'll be 2022.
Unbelievable.
When we're back on the air. But yeah, thanks to everybody that's sort of been listening, especially the first few episodes. It's been a lot of fun, and we're looking to bigger and better things in 2022.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate your time, mate.
Pleasure as always.